Now is being recorded, so
Good evening, Seth.
Good evening,
Welcome
Steve.
to what is sometimes known as the Drag Show, other times as Frisco Today. Thank you for joining us to talk about a wild subject of kink.
Kink.
Kink! We're going to get into kink.
Drag.
Well, we can get into that too. I think you're wearing a little, aren't you?
I am wearing a little
little
drag.
kink
yes.
drag?
Kink drag. We're just
Yeah.
under 2 minutes. Okay, so let's see. Copy cam. We have a copy cam. Copy cam is not on. Okay, because it's on.
Let's see, we'll talk about this. The earrings don't mean anything. Okay, this does.
Mm-hmm.
The best.
Well, yeah. it
Okay,
does.
just part of the look.
Yeah, it's part of the look.
These mean something.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you're wearing?
Just
The boots.
The boots and the BDU pants.
Okay.
It's all just part of the uniform, which I
Right.
was just going to talk about briefly.
Yeah. You know me. Always help yourself.
Okay, we have 50 seconds to go. Okay, I cannot bring this up on the copy cam, so if one of you would actually hold it up,
Okay.
that would be great.
Should I just...
Yes, just sit on it until you're ready to pull it out. Okay. Okay. All right, we have 30 seconds to go. All right. As far as the website is concerned, I don't think the computer is hooked up, so you'll just have to mention that if that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to cutting to it. And we have 20 seconds. Okay. So we didn't actually have that much time to prepare this. It's all good.
Okay.
And in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Drag Show most of the time, but tonight, Frisco Today. And with me is my friend and a colleague in a lot of endeavors, Seth Watkins. And tonight we're going to talk about kink and what kink means to Seth, to myself, and to the greater kink community. Welcome, Seth. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you, Stu. Thank you for having me.
It's great. It's great. So, where should we start?
Well, why don't we just start with a little bit of how I discovered kink.
That sounds perfect.
Well, part of my education around kink and deciding that I wanted to learn about kink was actually in sobriety. I got sober a little over a year ago this time around, and one thing that I wanted to be able to do was to practice the sexual and kind of kinky side of aspects that I was interested in, but do it in a sober way. And I didn't know how to go about doing that until I found some sober kink meetings of some 12-step fellowships that I was a part of. And so I started going to these kink meetings and these sober meetings and started talking to people, started listening, and started defining for myself what kink meant for me. And it's been a journey over the last year and a half that I've been able to, when I was a part of those meetings, I took on a commitment as a social chair for providing kink social events for the people in the meeting. And it was the best thing that I ever did for my sobriety and for my sexual expression. And it really was able to teach me how to organize and how to network in the kink community. And the leather community, and really to be able to build social events that were sober and that were kinky. And one thing I learned throughout kink is that usually not being altered by drugs or alcohol is one of the best safety things you can do when you're involved in kink. Because when you're altered and you're working with demonstrations of power and domination and pain and stimulation. If you're altered, you may not know your boundaries. You may not know your physical boundaries. And by being sober, you get to take in all the aspects of the feeling and the emotion and the intimacy of the whole scene or the whole community. And there's so much out there that is both sober and kinky, and a lot of play parties, a lot of play spaces, they usually are drug and alcohol free, because you have to be able to provide consent, you have to be able to provide safety, etiquette, and respect. Because I've learned that kink is about love, adoration, respect, all the positive aspects of intimacy that then take you beyond a pain threshold and introduce you to new levels of understanding, of pleasure, and of joy and excitement.
Well, let me ask you something, Seth. Had you had desires, kink desires, during your lifetime that you never addressed, or did you only address them when you were under the influence of some substance, or was it just stuff that you was fantasy life that you never acted upon?
Well, ever since I came out of the closet when I was young, 17, and I came out gay, I wanted to have fantasies about domination with men, and I've always found myself attracted to like the bad boy image, like whether it be someone who's riding a motorcycle or wearing a leather jacket, or just, the masculine, manly aspect of men really turned me on. And I had fantasies about abduction and leather and finding the right daddy or the right person to like teach me all these things, and being someone's like submissive and stuff like that. So I had it at a young age, but I never expressed it, except for throughout my life. I'm 33 now. For the last 10 years that I've been kind of like active, I didn't really explore or know anything about kink. I had fantasies, and I was one of those people that wore leather like to Folsom Street Fair or Dory Alley, but I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know the significance of leather and kink and BDSM and fetish or the language or what it really meant. And on my way over here, I was looking at the word kink on dictionary.com, and it was like sexual deviant behavior that some people engage in. And I didn't like the word deviant for a while, but at the same time, it means being different. And that's what I've learned. And I was able to be able to express myself later on when I got in my 30s without being under the influence, with a little bit of domination and kink. But I really didn't. I had sexual experiences that under the influence that were kinky, but they weren't like controlled, and they weren't really kink identified. They were just nasty pig sex.
Okay. And there is a big distinction, I believe, right?
There is a very big distinction. Anybody can have nasty pig sex, but very few, unless they're, aware and conscious of kink and what it means. What I've learned in kink and in my sobriety with kink is that kink is self-explained. It's a definition of how you define it. What my kink is may not be what your kink is. It's a self-defined lifestyle. And
well, let's see. We've talked about a few things now. One is you're sober, clean and sober, and I know from my experience with that community that one of the principles that is one of the practices that most people want to do in the back of their chips or medallions, it says, "To thine own self be true."
Yes.
And I think that's got a pretty big tie-in to the